Okay, yeah, here we go. Awesome. Super excited to be back on the SEO Talk live series. And after a short break, since we did our Women in SEO March series uh, 3 months ago, but we are back. So, hey, everyone, welcome in. Uh, Drop wherever you're joining from in the chat below, and we'd love to see who is here tonight, from where you're joining. We'll get started in a minute until more folks join in. But tonight's going to be a good one because we have got a guest who doesn't just talk about AI search. He actually runs experiment to stress test the claims flying around the industry on LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you have been feeling a little overwhelmed by all GEO, AEO, LLM noise, tonight's the night we cut through it. Okay, keep the questions coming on in the chat. We'll be picking up along the way, and we'll kind of show it on the screen, and we'll pick Harpreet's brains on those questions. All right, let's get into it. I am absolutely thrilled to welcome tonight's guest, someone whose work I've been following closely on Twitter, especially, and obviously is sharing a lot of content on LinkedIn and his newsletter. But let's uh, get together and welcome Harpreet. Welcome, Harpreet. How are you doing?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on the show. I'm doing good, thank you. How are you? I'm looking forward to our conversation here.
Lovely. Thanks for accepting our invitation and join us in sharing insights with the SEO Talk community. So I'll give a little bit of information about Harpreet. He's based out of Vancouver and an AI search consultant with over a decade of experience. He's worked with multiple different brands, Fortune 500 companies as well. The kind of portfolio that he works on, he has been posting a lot of frameworks on LinkedIn as well. And he publishes newsletter on his SEO Espresso is the newsletter which he runs. So just go out there, check out, subscribe to his newsletter. We'll share the links in the chat, and please give a huge welcome to Harpreet Singh. Fantastic to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to our talk and just seeing if we can make this whole concept a little bit more simple for people to understand.
Sure. So before we dive in, for anyone in the chat who hasn't come across your work before, if you want to share your version of introduction, what you do and what keeps you obsessed with the space.
Yeah, I think you explained it pretty well. So, started in SEO over 10 years ago and then just carried on, started working in an agency initially in the UK. During the agency, I got to work on some pretty large accounts, which was lucky. Then that just, because I was working with these big brands, I was early in my career, I just got interested in SEO. And then a couple of years into the job, I realized, okay, this is probably what I want to do for the long run. And then in SEO, like every year something changes. Like the foundation never changes. And I think that's going to be the bulk of our talk. Like the foundation is always the same, but there's always something new coming into the mix. And depending on where you work, so, if you're working with enterprise clients, you might be honing your interpersonal skills more, like your communication skills. But if you're working with a small business, you might leave all that aside and you're focusing on the day-to-day tactics. So I just thought, this industry, there's so much to it. There's so much to learn. It helps you develop as a person. Also, the income it brings is nice too. It pays the bills, and that leads us to today. After my first agency, I worked for another agency. Then I've worked for in-house brands too. Then I do my own consulting as well. So I just I just like doing SEO. I'm passionate about it, and here we are.
Lovely. We are stoked to have you on the show, Harpreet. Thanks for sharing what you've been doing for the past decade. Awesome. So let's set the stage because I think there's a lot of genuine confusion out there. And we have got AISEO, GEO, AEO, LLMO. The acronyms are multiplying faster than the actual results.
Yeah.
So let me start with the foundational question. There are three labels: AI, SEO, GEO, AEO. One reality. Is it genuinely different disciplines? What's your stand on it?
No, okay, so in terms of like the naming convention, personally to me, like people can call it whatever they want. Like we can't control the narrative behind a name, but what we can control is the tactics that play into the narrative. And I think, when let's go back a moment and let's remember when social media came around. I think a few years ago there was a big thing about TikTok SEO, YouTube SEO, voice search SEO. We didn't develop new acronyms, right? We didn't develop new acronyms, but now that AI search is here, we've developed new acronyms. But the work that goes into those is still 70% is still good SEO. So in my point of view, it doesn't matter what the thing is called. I think just because there's so much interest in the thing, people have their own agendas, and that's why we have all of these new acronyms. I also think that, so working with some of the more enterprise clients, I think that SEO has a bit of a bad reputation, and CMOs, CEOs, C-suites, investors, they hear SEO and they're like, oh, like, okay, it doesn't excite them. But now with AI, there's a new thing, and I think marketing professionals, they've just taken that GEO, AEO, AI SEO, it doesn't matter what we call it, term,
Yeah.
and that's what they use to communicate to the C-suite. And the C-suite seem to be buying ideas that fall under that umbrella compared to the SEO umbrella. So I think that's why we have so many different names. But the crux of it, I think 70 to 80% of the work involved for all of them is just SEO. But when we say it's just SEO, there's other people that argue and say, okay, how can it just be SEO? Things have changed. But my question always is, the SEO you're doing today, the SEO you were doing last year, how is that different from the SEO you were doing from 2016 or 2017? Just because something has one name doesn't mean you don't evolve yourself.
Oh, that was such a great way to put it, like pretty practical approach. And yep. Okay, we'll move to the next question. So where does traditional SEO strategy end and AI search strategy begin, or is that even the right way to frame it?
I think it is the right way to frame it. So I'll give you an example I'll anonymize the work, but I'll give you examples from what I'm doing right now. So 2 years ago, I'd be doing traditional SEO where I'm doing the on-page stuff, I'm doing some off-page stuff. Off-page stuff can vary. Like some people I know, you might want to buy backlinks. Some people might want to make data studies, and they might publish data studies on their website, and they might go the digital PR route. And then they might look at the technical health of a website. So I think traditional SEO is kind of there. But now the AI search strategy begins because we are at the table of what the social media team is doing. We're at the table when they're making a strategy for LinkedIn or making their content calendar for LinkedIn. Now the SEO is at the table because one way or another, LinkedIn has an influence on Google AI overviews, for example. Whether it be a minor impact, just because the C-suite want to know what the SEO is doing for AI search. So, for example, we're at the table where social is doing their planning. We're at the table when video content is being planned. So there's one company I work with, they make online webinars, for example. The SEO, me, is at the table because they're trying to get those webinars optimized for AI search. I think right now a lot of people don't actually know what optimizing for AI search means, but we're in those more broader conversations. I think that's where AI search strategy begins. The SEOs are just in more conversations in companies. We're involved in more products. We might be involved with product teams and what they're doing. In terms of like the web teams, like web development, I think things haven't changed that much. The only thing I think that's changed is, again, the stakeholders, they want to see more experiments. So they want to see things like, okay, this is what my solution page looks like. This is what a product page looks like. This is what a blog post looks like. What can we do to this page for it to be relevant in AI search? Now, the SEO in me says that this page is already great because I've made sure that my input has been in the page and it's good. Like, I've made sure there's key takeaways on a page 3 years ago. I've made sure the paragraphs are readable. I make sure that there's clear headers on the page. But with what we spoke about in the previous question, because there's so much noise around AEO, GEO, there's new concepts like chunking. So now I'm getting questions like, is this page chunked? And then I have to go back and be an educator and be like, chunking isn't a thing. Like, maybe it is for LLM training, but when it comes to AI search optimization, chunking isn't a thing because our paragraphs are already readable. We've already optimized them, or optimized our content in that sense. So I think traditional SEO, and as the SEO consultant or in-house SEO, we're just in more conversations in the company. We're informing strategy of other channels, but at this time, we have to educate teams so they make the right decisions and they don't invest in things that are unnecessary. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think so the way you explained about chunking, it's used for training models, but it's essentially doesn't make sense for AI search optimization. We are already there.
Yeah, like it's just there's lots of different like SEO tool companies that have blog posts that talk about this is how to chunk your content. But it really is just content readable, and we've been doing that. And we've been doing that since before I even started. Like, I read guides from like 2005. Like, there's concepts in there to make your paragraphs small and readable.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for sharing that practical anecdote. Awesome. Let's get a little bit technical because I know a big chunk of our audience tonight are SEO practitioners who want to walk away with something they can act on tomorrow morning, like right away.
Okay.
So, and you are one of the few people I kind of trust to give a genuine, honest answer here because you actually run tests rather than just share theoretical knowledge. So what are the short-term AI search tactics you would recommend a brand act on right now? And which ones are frankly overhyped noise?
Yeah. Because the biggest one that I'm recommending to everyone right now is video content. Make video. And that's why I started making some videos myself. Like, I don't like being on camera, but I know the importance of video. So I think, okay, so when we talk about tactics, there's other smaller things we can do, but the biggest tactic I think is video because that directly ties into marketing. So we have to remember, as an SEO or GEO or AEO channel, like, the main thing is not to be siloed away into like a corner of a company. We want to make ourselves, we want to have an impact on the entire company. I think one way you can do that is informing video strategy. So even if you cannot get the budget to make the videos, for example, or if you're working in a company that doesn't want to invest in videos, have a strategy in place, put a PowerPoint presentation together or put a Word document together, put a proposal together, show your bosses, show your management examples, because I can guarantee, like, if you Google pretty much anything now in an AI overview, there is a link to a video. So once you show proof to your management, you might be able to get some buy-in, and you get a video strategy up and running. So that's one of the things. But just like video, what other activities on third-party domains can you do? So I'm on the fence with LinkedIn. So for example, LinkedIn articles. So right now, in the US at least, I'm seeing there's a lot of PR companies say that if you post articles on LinkedIn, it's a way to get visibility in AI search. Now, for the SEOs in the chat, remember a few years ago, everybody was violating LinkedIn posts, right? They were using LinkedIn posts as like a parasite SEO engine.
Yeah.
That's what the AI search, I think, consultants, PR companies are doing now. They're posting articles on LinkedIn for super long tail stuff, and they're saying that, hey, this is showing up in Google's AI overviews, but of course it's going to show up because it's a super long tail query. But that said, if you can't get budget to do the video, if you can't get budget to do more of the higher level topics, something like that. Look at the third-party domains that are ranking for your queries, for your prompts, and just see if you can action them and see if you can action on them and create content on those third-party domains. So they're the two big things: one more high level, one more practical.
Lovely. I want to pick up something that you mentioned, videos. So if it's AI overviews, if it's AI mode, obviously it's showing YouTube. But among the other AI surfaces, whether it's Perplexity or Claude or ChatGPT, I think so. YouTube and Google as the whole ecosystem is still winning this game because YouTube is the video platform that's surfacing. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So YouTube is the platform that's winning. But if you're making a video for example, let's just say you're making a shorts video, so not even long form video. Publish it on YouTube Shorts, publish it on Instagram, publish it on X, just publish it on TikTok, publish it everywhere, right? Because the more places you publish, the more chances you have to show up. One thing I do want to say about AI search in general, I think different AI assistants, they have slightly different tactics. So the way I look at AI search when I work with people is, okay, our AI search strategy is based on Google's AI overviews and Google's AI mode, because at the end of the day, that is going to be the most used. That is going to be the most used AI search assistant in the world, right? ChatGPT is great, Perplexity is great, but at the end of the day, more people, I don't even know the multiple, but way more people use Google than they use the other channels. If you optimize your AI search strategy for Google's AI systems, you're going to be fine in the other channels. But now, if you optimize your AI search strategy for ChatGPT, you might do something that gets you in a bit of trouble with Google's AI, with Google and regular SEO, and you might get affected by an algorithm update, for example, which we've seen. And that brings me to some other tactics that I would avoid. For example, scaling content with AI. Sure, you can scale content with AI tools. You can do programmatic SEO. You can make 1 billion pages, and you might see your citations increase in ChatGPT by 10,000%. You might even get more traffic from Google for a short amount of time, but then after 6 months, you're going to be worse than where you were 6 months ago. So I think when we talk about AI search tactics, for me, it's important to let's focus on Google. But as we focus on Google, the stuff we're doing is going to help us in the other channels as well. So I think that's the approach. That's the approach I take.
That's such a brilliant way to put it. I think so. The tactics that brands used in last 6 to 12 months, self-promotional listicles, and I think so we can now witness the Mount AI charts on third-party platforms. So that's crazy, and yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, and with those Mount AI charts, it's not that like we're bashing companies that say, "Oh, you used AI to scale." Now, for some companies, this works. So recently, I had a conversation with actually, let's go back 2 months. I had a conversation with a marketing manager who was like, "Okay, we want to scale with AI, but and we know we're going to drop. But after we drop, are we going to be in a better position than where we were if we didn't do this thing?" And during the period we were peaking, what's that? Carriers. Because after we drop, we can then start investing in other channels because now we have a customer base. So this ranking tank or the Mount AI, this is not always bad depending on what business you're in. But then I always say, think of SEO on like a 10-year timeline. So as a consultant, we might work on projects for 2 or 3 years, but the business owner, the business is going to around after we're done working on the project. And in most cases, the business was around before we started working on the project. Before you recommend something to a client who might not know any better, just think about what the long-term impact of what you are doing is going to be on the business.
That's such an important business POV to look at. it's not only from the SEO lens, but overall kind of CMO lens, looking at like if we get that rank and tank spike traffic for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, get new customers, and even after that traffic drops, like does it go below the levels that we had before? So yeah, considering all of these factors is really important. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for putting it across.
And just with that, when you have these type of conversations with your clients, managers, stakeholders, they have more trust in you as well. If you show them that, hey, I'm looking at this from, like, if they ask you, okay, what did you do for SEO today? Or what did you do for GEO today? We're going to give them a list. But then if you tell them, hey, I'm doing this because I think, like, I'm doing this thing. This is the pros of doing this. These are the risks of doing this. But I recommend doing this because of the impact it will have on your business over the long run. So when you frame conversations like that, I just think you build more trust with your clients as well, which is obviously a good thing, because you might get more budget, you might get more resources to do your job.
Wow, I think so. It's not only about honesty, but it's also about the transparency. Yeah, makes so much sense. Awesome. Cool. So there are brands that don't have the budget for elaborate geo frameworks, and that can hold their own strategy, and if they focus on the right fundamentals. So my next question to you is, you have run real tests on geo, including a press release experiment. What surprised you most about that actual experiment?
Yeah. Okay, so the reason I ran these experiments, it was just to experiment. It was kind of to prove a hypothesis, because I was trying to show some people that, AI is a parrot. So I think with AEO, GEO, like whatever we want to call it, I think a lot of people think there is some magic behind these systems. So let's forget about AI search for a minute, and let's just talk about ChatGPT, Claude, and whatnot in general. Yeah, like the common everyday people think that these platforms are magic and like there's something amazing going on. But most people don't understand that these systems just repeat what they see. So the reason I did this press release was one time I made a fake company, but now it's a real company. So I made just a company with a fake name in Vancouver, and I was like, this is the best AIS agency in Vancouver. It's rated 5 stars, and this is just to prove a point. And then I published that press release, and when you publish that press release, hundreds of news sites syndicate it. Hundreds of news sites say the same thing. So I've said the agency is near 5-star rated in the press release. Now, when you go into Google's AI overview, you go into ChatGPT, it says that this agency is near 5-star rated, even though there are no verified views or reviews on the internet. So that's just showing people that, look, if you can game AI with a simple press release, maybe the answers you're reading in ChatGPT and Claude on Gemini, you shouldn't trust them as a source of truth. With the way people searched I know this is a little bit away from tactics, but it's more just like an educational thing. So the way people searched 2, 3, 4 years ago, before AI overviews, you Google something and you make your own opinion, right? You go through the different links and you make your own opinion about whatever topic it is. You're going to form your own opinion. But now Google gives you an opinion that's already formed from sources on the internet. So I think as the end user, you just need to just be a bit more critical with the way you use search engines. So that's the reason I ran the test. It wasn't necessarily an AI SEO test. It was more of a test to show, okay, this is the kind of the danger of AI. It's so easy to be, it's so easy to influence. And I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised, because that's just how the systems have been made.
Wow.
But it's also, but you can also use it as an SEO tactic. So yeah, like you can also use this, and I've seen this. If you go to for everyone listening, just pick, I'm not going to name PR companies, but if you just Google PR companies and then just go through like 20 PR companies and go on their latest news releases, you can see how people are using PR for SEO. You will see how they're inserting or how they're using PRs for GEO, I should say. You'll see how they're putting keywords in the title. You'll see how they're positioning the press releases. They're very much made influence AI search for that chosen topic.
Wow. I think so. The point that you made around the opinion earlier, we used to do a manual search, look at a couple of links, and now the human tendency, we are lazy. We are lazy social beings. So we get opinions right away. But I am genuinely curious. When did you run this experiment? Like what time?
Yeah, you know what? One of them would have been like maybe 2023. Another one was maybe 2024. Another one would have been 2024. This one was best SEO newsletter, best AI SEO newsletter for CMOs. Again, same thing. I just wanted to prove a point.
Got you.
And this one to the day, I think, still shows, like, the AI Overview still recommends my newsletter as the best AI SEO newsletter for CMOs. More often than not, the AI Overview Perplexity still recommends the SEO Espresso, even though, again, like, why is the AI recommending that? There's no reason for it. It's only recommending it because there's 100 web pages online that say that thing.
Wow. So we are going through the similar phase where in the early days, like 2005 to 2010, when we started doing SEO, those exact match keyword optimization stuff like that, things were working back in the day. And similarly, we are again in that early journey of AI search, and a couple of things are working without like it's not exactly the fact, but over a period of time, I think so. These search platforms are also coming up with their own updates. Like we still get the Google Core updates every now and then. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
but thanks for sharing.
The one thing for press releases, though, I would say is how do you fix this? Like, if you're an AI company, if you're even Google, how do you fix this? So before, like, let's just go back like 10 years or 15 years, like you said. 2005 was actually 21 years ago. So let's go back 21 years. You can demote the rankings of press release subfolders, right? If Google sees, okay, like Parasite SEO a few years ago, Google demoted some sites that were engaging in Parasite SEO, like the news websites. You can demote the subfolders. You can take action on the subfolders. But press release is that kind of thing where even like enterprise companies, they do legitimate press releases. Financial markets, they need press releases because they have legitimate news. And then we have people like me and we have SEOs in there who are trying to game the press releases. So if you're Google now, if you're OpenAI, if you're Anthropic, you can't control how your models are trained on press releases because you need the models to train on press releases. We're just a small subset of press releases. We just have a small impact on press releases. I think this is a problem, and I think SEOs this is a problem for the AI companies. And I think until they find a way to fix it, I don't know. I think SEOs will continue to use press releases as a tactic for AI search.
Interesting. Yeah, I think so. They cannot have a general consensus of like not giving weightage to press releases because SEOs might be in single-digit percentage to kind of play and game around with digital PR. Interesting times ahead. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Okay. We'll pause for a second here, and I can see the chat's been live and people are posting questions. Maybe I can pull up a question. Okay, there's a question from Vedant. Any tips for small businesses to stay relevant in AI search?
Yeah, number one would be save your money and don't invest in just purely an AI search strategy. You don't need to do that. You don't need to just spend on AI search. Have it as an add-on to SEO. But yeah, for small businesses, I would say first of all, look at your homepage, look at your about page. What does it say about your business? Are you clear with what you offer? So go to ChatGPT, and this is something you can do yourself. You don't even need to hire a consultant for this. Go to an AI tool of your choice and ask it do two things. First, say do not use web search into ChatGPT. So write this: do not use web search. What do you know about this business? Because now ChatGPT is going to give you an answer from its training data. So this is going to be everything that ChatGPT knows about your business from its training data. Then open another incognito tab or open another tab and do another search with web search enabled and ask it what it knows about your business. Okay, so now you have two answers: one with just the LLM training data, and then you have one with web search enabled. It's going to be very difficult for you as a business owner to influence the answer from just the training data. Your job is to look at the other one with web search enabled. Okay, what is it saying? If there's cons about your business, like maybe there's some negative reviews. Okay, so when it says that, now see where are those reviews being sourced from? Are they from Trustpilot? Are they from Reddit? Are they from Bird Eye or like any other company? Okay, they are. Now you're going to work on that. You're going to try and improve your scores for those profiles. That's one thing. Messaging. So what do you offer? Like I've seen cases where when people ask ChatGPT with web search enabled, like what does this business do? It's saying something different from what the business actually does. And that's because the AI is not pulling the information about your business from your website. It's pulling it from a competitor's website, or it's pulling it from like a random news story. Again, if you see that happening, that's again something you need to action now. If the information is coming from a news web, for example, then you have a bit of a problem where you have to spend some money to put some content out on a source that's better than the source that ChatGPT is already using. If it's coming from a competitor website, it's a little bit easier. Maybe you publish a page in your blog, or maybe you publish some content on your website that directly addresses those claims. So there's lots of things you can do. The first thing is always just put your brand into search for your brand in AI assistants, see what they're saying about you, and then go from there. Don't worry about the non-branded stuff first. Don't worry about the non-branded stuff. Focus on how AI presents your brand. Once you've nailed that, then we worry about the non-branded stuff.
Awesome. I hope that answers Vedant. Thanks, Harpreet, for picking it up. All right, let's zoom out from tactics and talk about the bigger picture, because I think one of the problems right now is the brands are optimizing for the wrong time horizon entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question brings up, most brands are chasing AI visibility, quick wins. What are the fundamentally getting wrong about the long game?
Yeah, I think there's a few different ways to look at this. So, okay, so let's look at the quick wins. So sometimes the quick wins can actually cause more damage in the long run. So, for example, Shopify's blog strategy. I think the Atlantic newspaper, wrote a piece about them, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday. The Atlantic were talking about how AI results are being sloppified because of listicles. So, there's a brand thing now where I think as AI search tactics become more and more visible, I think companies are in danger of damaging their brand because they're being perceived to do something dumb. And I think that's worse than actually having bad SEO tactics, because your entire business is coming under scrutiny. But if we go away from that and we just look at individual SEO tactics, it's just you might be doing something that's going to get you in trouble 6 months down the line, and it's going to take you a long time to recover. So I think all of us working in SEO, the people on the call know that if you get hit by an algorithm update, sometimes it can take like 2 years to recover. Why put yourself in that position in the first place? If you're working on a business that's doing well, maybe you're growing 10, 15, 20% year on year. Why are you jeopardizing that by publishing 2,000 posts with with um, with AI, right? To me, that doesn't make much sense because you're damaging your ability to do well over the long run. So yeah, that I think is the biggest one, the Mount AI that we've talked about in ranking and tanking. But then also now, as I mentioned, because more people are getting aware of these tactics, it's a brand perception thing where do you want your brand to be known as a brand that is spamming the internet in the name of AI search? I don't. I think most people would say no. Another thing that I think people are getting wrong, and this is more, I wouldn't blame SEOs for this. I think marketing leaders, CMOs, C-suites, investors also share the blame. It's just wasting everybody's time on a meeting. So for example, LLMs.txt, chunking, FAQ schema, adding unnecessary FAQs to a page, optimizing a page for retrieval. Like I've been in conversations where there's 3, 4, 5 people from a company and we're just wasting company time. We're wasting an hour. So like there's 5 people on a call and we're just talking about whether we should implement an LLMs.txt file or not, right? So now from the company's point of view, 5 people just wasted their time. That's time that they could have been doing something else. In that sense, and that's why I think when we started, I talked about education a little bit. I think a key role of an SEO person is just educate the people around you. Even if they don't want to be educated, just make a 10 slide PowerPoint that talks about AI search and explains what it is. Because if you do that, and if someone asks to book a meeting about, hey, why don't we have, if a boss says, why don't we have LLMs.txt file, you can tell your boss, hey, I've already thought about this and I've put together this slide deck that explains how AI search works. And I think you should take a look at it before we discuss AI search strategy. So hopefully that makes sense.
That's such a fantastic tip, to be honest. And of lately, I have been sending those execution documents to my clients as well, because of the system that I built using Claude Code. And it's easier to make PRD documents where I share all the data backed why we are taking this decision, and there's data to support it. So there are less meetings and we can do a lot of async work. So that's helping. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Moving forward to the next one, how should an SEO or a marketing team actually think about balancing traditional search investment with AI search in 2026? Like, do you recommend a framework or anything behind it?
Yeah, this one's a bit tricky because there's a lot of overlap, and I think with AI search, you might also be stepping on other people's toes. So there's going to be a bit of there's going to be a little politics involved too. So like I mentioned earlier in the call, we're at the table now for social media. So when a video strategy is being developed, when a social media strategy is being developed, the SEO is at the table because marketing leader wants to see that the social work that we're doing, the video work that we're doing has an impact on AI search. Now, if you're the social media coordinator at a company, you might feel a little, hey, I used to own this. Why is this person from the SEO team now having an input? So there's one way you have to kind of balance the political side. But in terms of balancing investment, I would say, you ask for more leverage in a company, like I just mentioned. So asking for more authority to give your opinion and what the company is doing in general. But B, just asking for a little bit more budget on top of your traditional SEO strategy. So before, maybe you have a link building budget where, and I'm sure many people still do this because I have conversations where they go out and they buy backlinks. But now think about this. What is that doing for your SEO and AI search strategy? Probably not a lot. Instead of just buying backlinks, maybe you're better off taking that budget and going to your manager and be like, hey, we've spent $5,000 over the past 3 months buying backlinks. Because AI search is changing now, instead of buying backlinks, why don't we take that $5,000 and why don't we do a data study on something in our industry? And this is a proprietary study that we own. From that data study, we now have 20 different points that we can talk about and pitch to journalists, and we can get backlinks that way. And that way, there's a bigger chance of the company being mentioned in news articles, for example. So that's one way you got to think of. You got to think of balancing your how much you're investing. I think it's one thing having an SEO investment, but now it is time where, okay, we know everybody's interested in AI search. Look at your SEO strategy. Look at what you want to do. Look at some of the AI tactics you want to invest in, and then try and improve your budget. Try and increase your SEO budget to do those AI search activities. And this digital PR example, data study example is a good one. Like recently, here's an example. There's the Toronto Police Service, so Toronto Police website. They have a database, Power BI database on their website that talks about, actually has data on how many people get killed on Toronto's roads every month. And they update this daily, and they talk about how many accidents they have on the roads in Toronto. But there is no company out there that actually aggregates that data and puts it into an easy to view thing on their website. So what I did with one company was we made an article around how road fatalities in Toronto have changed over the last 3 years, because no one else has done that. Now, in this case, we could have just gone and bought some backlinks, but rather we spent the money to create a good piece that covers something important for that company. And now that company is able to distribute this piece of content to local journalists who want to write about the topic. They want to talk about this topic because the angle they're taking is company XYZ did a study, or company XYZ made this study that shows that road fatalities in Toronto have been decreasing over the last 5 years. So doing things like that. So just thinking outside of the box is probably the best way to put it.
Lovely. That makes so much sense. We'll do a quick check if we have questions from the audience. And yes, we have one question from Malhar. What is the biggest trade-off in AI search visibility, like visibility versus traffic, or scale versus quality?
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about visibility versus traffic for a minute. So a lot of these Mount AI strategies you're seeing, and a lot of AI SEO case studies you're seeing, they talk about we increased AI citations by 800% or something like that. But in my opinion, my point of view is, what does that even mean? Most of that increase in citations is coming from top of funnel prompts and top of funnel keywords that are going to have no impact on the business. So in that sense, I would say that, being visible in AI search in terms of citations doesn't mean you're getting traffic, doesn't mean traffic to your website. And I would focus on quality. Like, you can scale your blog to cover every explainer, what is, how to keyword in the world with AI. And like I said, you can get 800% increase in AI citations. But if that's not having an impact on your revenue, what's the point of doing that? Instead, you got to focus on quality. Make sure your product pages are optimized. If you sell a software, make sure you have a profile on G2, and make sure your profile has reviews from customers, because when people are comparing whatever solutions in ChatGPT, yes, ChatGPT is going to look at your website, but it's also going to look at sites like G2. So you got to make sure you have reviews there. I mentioned Trustpilot earlier on. So just making sure that if you're going to invest in AI search, don't just invest in a content tool that scales your traffic. Invest in all of the other stuff that goes around your website. Invest in the third-party stuff that is going to improve the way your brand is mentioned in AI search. And that goes back to a question from Vedant earlier, like tips to stay relevant. Always start with your brand and how AI perceives your brand, and then go from there.
Wow, amazing. Absolutely, I think so. now it's not only focusing on our own digital asset. That's our website. There are a lot of third-party platforms, Reddit, YouTube, where we have to focus on the content that we produce and the overall consensus of a brand through those UGC communities and platforms.
Yeah, and just another example, like let's say someone's buying a content optimizer tool for $300-400 a month. Maybe for 2 months, just turn off that subscription, and now you turn off the subscription. All of a sudden, okay, you have $800 spare. Invest in some UGC campaign instead, right? You don't have to go to a mega influencer. You can use a smaller influencer with like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 followers. Invest in a UGC campaign. So just testing different things.
Yeah, that's such a practical advice. Yeah, it's not always going behind bigger influencers, but I think so. Overall, think so. Relevant content creator who's posting on preferred platform, I think so. That's going to move the needle. Yeah. Okay. So we'll move to the final theme of today's session, and I want to end on what I think is the most underexplored part of this conversation, the trade-offs, because everyone's talking about the opportunity, but very few people are honest about the cost. So according to you, Harpreet, what's the biggest trade-off a brand makes when it over-optimizes for AI search citation at the expense of everything else?
So this is just based on what I'm seeing right now, and I could be proven wrong in a few months' time. But generally, when a brand over-indexes on AI search optimization, they do things that might not be favored by Google's algorithm. And what happens then is you're going to lose visits from Google because you're going to get dinged by an algorithm. You're going to get dinged by an algorithm update. And I think everybody needs to remember that AI search only makes up 1 to 5% of traffic or revenue for most businesses, right? And AI and regular organic search still is between like the 30 to 60% range. Don't jeopardize your organic traffic from Google and Google's AI systems by trying to over-index for citations for ChatGPT, because you can very well damage your regular SEO, which is going to have a much bigger negative impact on your business than doing whatever you just did in the hope of having a positive impact in ChatGPT. So it's like a fine balancing act, and we can already see examples actually. So one of the top AEO visibility tools, and when I say AEO visibility tools, I'm sure people can just Google that and know which company I'm talking about. They have lots of case studies on their website. And one of them is from a startup in the finance space. So this is a new startup. Maybe it's like a year old, 18 months old. What they did was they published listicles and they put themselves number one. And they have like 10, 15, 25, maybe like more than that, listicles on their website. So yes, listicles work for AI search. But obviously Google has, in the past few weeks and couple of months, obviously Google has been trying to do something with listicles. I think if we try and deny the fact that Google hasn't been trying to address the best listicles, then we're lying to ourselves. So we know Google are trying to mitigate the impact. So what I'm seeing now is when you Google the best AI, whatever finance software, that company's webpage is cited in the AI overview, right? So it's the citation, but it's not mentioned in the AI answer. So now if you're working at that company, what's the citation going to do for you when you're not mentioned in the AI answer? You're not even the first citation. You're like the third or fourth citation within the little AI overview panel. There's other citations, there's other links above that web page, and you're not in the answer. And secondly, the answer, so the best companies, because you've got those companies in your listicle on your website, you're reinforcing the position of those companies in the AI answer, right? So what is that doing for you as a business? It's not doing anything. And in that case, the listicle made is a net negative, because you're giving free advertising to other companies, and B, Google is using your listicle to prop up those other companies within its AI answer.
Wow, that was such a great way to kind of weigh in the trade-offs for a long-term AI search strategy.
Yeah, and I think Google have the new documents recently. They updated their guidelines. I just tell everyone, like, don't over optimize for AI search. Don't over index. Yes, we know it's here. Focus on the third party stuff. Focus on the video stuff. Again, like I'm doubling down on that. Focus on the video stuff. Make sure your review profiles are optimized everywhere. Like optimize as in don't do fake reviews. Don't buy fake reviews, but email happy customers to leave you a review, right? Do things like that. Improve your review profiles, your about description. So make sure the description you have on these review websites matches the description you have on your homepage. Matches the description you have on your homepage on your about page. Even like food marketplaces, like I'm trying to use an India example now. For example, I think Zomato is a delivery platform in India.
Yeah.
So yeah, just making sure that your menu on your website aligns with the menu on Zomato, right? Making sure the description of your company align on that delivery platform aligns with the description of your company on your own website. So just looking at things like that and making sure things align, making sure your messaging is all correct, it's up to date, and then going from there.
Absolutely. And the brands that resist that temptation, that stay genuinely useful and distinctive, and they end up getting cited because their competitor push really hard, but the brands playing genuinely out there end up cited.
Yeah, and I would say in terms of citation, like don't worry about citation too much. I'd say more it's the mention, right? Worry about the mention, because in May, I think April or May, ChatGPT began providing more inline citations. So if you're actually looking at traffic from AI sources, you might have seen an increase in like April and May, and ChatGPT began providing more inline citations. Inline citation is just when like a brand is mentioned, you can click on the brand name and it goes to like the home page or their about page or whatever. Focus on that, because if ChatGPT and these AI systems are providing more inline citations for branded anchors, then you don't need to worry about that secondary citation that goes to a web page. Your main goal should be, how does AI mention me? Because if AI mentions you and there's an inline citation, you increase your likelihood of getting a visitor from AI search. And even if there's not an inline citation, AI mentions you, and a customer is trying to evaluate different solutions, they might search about your brand anyway. Like they might make a search for you anyway in their follow-up conversation.
Awesome. Okay, we have a question from the chat. Anirudh asks how to explain the benefit of AI citations as a KPI. And there's a follow-up as well. Stakeholders expect their products to be sold via LLM.
Yeah. Okay. So AI citations. Again, just as I was saying, the first thing I lead off is AI citations are a bit of a vanity metric. You can have 1 billion citations and 0 mentions. Just because you have all those citations doesn't mean you're winning an AI search, because you're not a part of the answer. So I always would say that if someone is asking you, hey, I want to have AI citations as a KPI, leading off with, this is actually a vanity metric. Yes, we will measure this, but it's a vanity metric. The second thing I'd say is that one page can have like multiple citations. For example, what is a balance sheet, for example, right? That's just a basic explainer, can have way more citations than your product page. That doesn't mean in AI search your product page is less valuable than that explainer. So I think, just start off, tell your stakeholders the AI citations is a vanity metric. We will measure it, and I will measure it for you, but this is the cons of measuring AI citations, and then going from there. And then if I ask you why AI citations are going down, why AI citations are going up, you can go into a little bit more detail and say that, hey, we had this explainer article that actually had 300 citations, but now this only has 200 citations. But at the same time, we're actually better than where we were last month, because our product page only used to have 3 citations, but now it has 10 citations. So trying to frame the conversation that way.
Lovely. Cool. We'll move to the last one. We want to wrap it up on time. Uh, so, Harpreet, if you had to tell a client one thing that they'll regret not doing today, and one thing they should stop wasting budget on immediately, what would those two things be?
Okay, the first thing I would say, regret not doing. I'm going to go back to video because we started with video. If your client is not doing video, just do video. Like, with an iPhone, it takes 10 minutes to record a video. You can read a script and invest in video, just because I think it's going to become even more important as time goes on. In terms of one thing they should stop wasting budget on, it depends what activity the client is doing. So if the client is fully on board on like the AI search hype train, where they're chunking content, they're investing in LLMs.txt, they're making LLM info pages, they're doing all these fancy things, I would say stop doing those, because there's no way you'll be able to prove your ROI. So I think the wasting budget one is a little bit of a difficult question, just because it depends what people are doing. But in terms of do something that otherwise you're going to regret it, is definitely investing in video, because video is just also going to help your overall marketing in general.
Fantastic. This has been such a fantastic conversation, Harpreet, and genuinely one of the sharpest, most grounded conversations we have had on SEO Talk after a long time. And I'm 100% sure the SEO Talk community is going to be talking about this one for a while. But before we let you go, where should people follow your work? Give us all the handles.
Yeah, so most of the time I'm posting on X just because it's easy to post. So you can find me under Harpreet Chatter _ over on X. So that's where you'll find most of my work. But you'll also be able to catch me on LinkedIn. I can drop my LinkedIn handle in the description for people.
Sure, we'll edit. So everyone in the chat, go follow Harpreet right now. He's at the @Harpreet Chadha _ on X and Harpreet Singh on LinkedIn. And go check out his newsletter, SEO Espresso. Go ahead, subscribe it. And if you want any no-nonsense, test-driven perspective he brought tonight, we'll send it over in the next newsletter to you. So make sure you subscribe to SEO Talk newsletter as well. And if tonight's conversation sparked something for you, and if you want to be part of SEO Talk community, we keep on discussing like this every month and every week on X Spaces. Do join the WhatsApp SEO Talk community. We'll share the links in the YouTube chat and LinkedIn and X, wherever we are live right now. Awesome. Harpreet, it was an absolute pleasure having you. Thanks so much for your time and
thank you for having me.
Bringing all this tonight. Thank you so much.
No, thank you too. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us live. This is exactly why we do this. See you all next time. Thank you.